How I wish Q were here. Welcome to Floyd, Sync Floyd, the podcast for your ears only, where we sync every movie ever made to Pink Floyd's 1973 magnum opus, The Dark Side of the Moon Raker. You know my name. Gareth Blackler. And joining me is... I didn't have a pun for myself. And joining me is Dr. Yes and from Christchurch with Love, James Barron. Hello, James.
It's me, the suave secret agent of your heart, Gareth. Hello, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show for our second attempt at recording Goldeneye. But...
it was as if Goldeneye herself went off and we lost our recording.
Yep, we did. We got hit by an EMP and it shattered the internet and everything around us. The golden gods themselves conspire against us to record our new podcast episode. I'm coming at you live from Casa del Baron, and yeah, I'm happy in here to record. So, what's up? Hey.
I'm also happy in here to record.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
Yeah.
We are, of course, talking our very first James Bond movie on this podcast, syncing a James Bond movie with another classic British thing, Pink Floyd. James Bond, if you've never heard of him, he's a man.
He is.
He's a gentleman spy.
So
He's
far,
been
anyway.
doing... Oh, good point, yeah. Who knows? He's been doing some spy stuff for, 50 years?
Damn.
Almost 60 years. Yeah, he's been played by many actors. He's saved the world many times. He's pretty much inspired every corner of film.
Yeah.
And really what I want to know, James, is being named James, how does James Bond affected your life?
I mean, I'm a James with a B surname as well. So, it's fairly significantly, every now and then people will be like, James Barron, and that kind of thing, like you in the intro. But it's fine. It's that it happens. It's just occupational hazard of being called James, I think. And that it's definitely a major cultural touchstone that we're yet to touchstone upon. So I'm excited to talk about this spy and his antics. At least in one of his many adventures. Because we did 1995's Goldeneye for this episode, which is Pierce Brosnan's first foray into playing James Bond. As you know, he's been played by multiple actors over the course of so long. Who's your favorite of the James Bonds, Gareth? Who would you pick if you had to go on an adventure with one of the James Bonds?
Oh.
If you were a Bond girl, Gareth, who's your Bond pick?
Okay, you've asked three very different questions. Okay. My favorite James Bond. Okay, I'm going to answer them all with different Bonds. My favorite James Bond, I'm gonna call it, and I didn't realize it until now. I'm looking at his face. It's Pierce Brosnan. It's basic. He's the Bond from when I was a child, so therefore I have to like him.
He's the basic Bond.
He kind of is. He's the very much I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up with him being the James Bond. He just feels like the most obvious James Bond. And the pity is he didn't get many good movies. He got Goldeneye and kind of that's it for me. He seems like he balances the kind of anger and grit that the role needs with the silliness, and his silliness seems to come it's a way of comforting himself in his little dark times. Yeah. But the James Bond I'd go on an adventure with would be Roger Moore, because Roger Moore, love him as James Bond, love his movies, love the silliness. He just has this air where he seems very tired. Like, especially Moonraker.
Oh, yeah.
Which isn't even his last foray into the role. He is just... No, I think he did two more. View to a Kill is his last one, which is magnifique. He just seems like he just wants to go home and like play on his Nintendo Switch. He just has no energy, and honestly, if I was on the adventure, I'd be bringing the same heat.
He's jamming the new Pokemon game.
And if I was a Bond girl, Timothy Dalton.
All right. Hey, whoa. Fair. Yeah. It's got that winning smile.
What about yourself?
I'm just going to save time and choose Daniel Craig for all three, just because he's the Bond I'm most familiar with, and that I'm not deep in the Bond franchise. I've seen select films from many of the Bonds. Like, I think I've seen one Sean Connery film. I've seen Moonraker with old Roger Moore. I can't believe that wasn't his last one, because he's just like, he is an old-ass man in that film.
I think he retired at 59.
Wow. Okay. Good effort for like an international man of mystery. Just pottering around at 59. Making
quiches. Honestly, View to a Kill is such
View to a quiche. Fuck yeah. That sounds great. So I'm a big fan of the Craig era, the series. And that, it became it got a lot of criticism for being a lot more like hard, serious, styled. It lost a lot of, it had too much more edge, and it lost a lot of the silliness that was well liked in the previous entries. But I would say he still has quips. It's just that they're coming off as a different kind of thing. It's played more straight, as if this guy is making like kind of smart ass jokes, rather than like actually writer's room like pun kind of levels that we're getting from Pierce Brosnan and Goldeneye. At least that's my read. No,
absolutely. Like, Daniel Craig is the best Bond, but I don't know. Maybe it's just a reaction to him. Like, obviously, like, Casino Royale is my favorite James Bond movie.
Same.
So maybe I just need a bit more time to, like, absorb. Maybe then after the next Bond, I'll know how I feel about Daniel Craig. But yeah.
What is the latest one's like No Time to Die or something, right? Like, that's the...
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. So of all the Bonds, the only one I've seen every film of is Timothy Dalton.
All right, sweet.
And I've seen, I think, clean down the middle, I've seen half of these movies. I think I've seen 13
That's really good.
James Bond movies. Which, is a lot for any other franchise. Yeah. If I'd seen 13 Friday the 13th movies, I would have nailed it. But, that's only half the Bonds, so I can't call myself an expert.
We can be semi-experts. Anyway, we don't have to be experts in James Bond. We just have to be experts in how it syncs with The Dark Side of the Moon, the magnum opus from our boys in the Floyd. As you say, British boys, got a lot of the old cultural heritage going on. Because James Bond's a very British kind of thing. Which is cool. I like that it leans into it, and it has all these very British isms in it. So it is kind of strange seeing Pierce in the role. But I don't get like a Britishy vibe from him, even though he's like, is he like Irish or what's his deal? I don't know.
I believe he's Irish.
So I don't know. I didn't read him as British, whereas Daniel Craig, I'm like, he is a British man. So there you go.
Yeah, I think Daniel Craig and Roger Moore might be the only ones who are
actually British.
English, British,
Like Sean Connery's like
Scottish, Lazenby. Lazenby was Australian. And Timothy Dalton as well.
Right.
And again, I don't know how come I know
that's
that.
really impressive.
But like, it'll get to a very obvious piece of James Bond knowledge, and I'll be like, who?
Okay.
Excuse me?
Well, that's fine.
What?
So maybe it's like more of a Commonwealth thing then. It's all good.
Yeah.
But yes, we only need to be experts in how things sync up. So should we talk about that? Should we talk about how the film Goldeneye syncs with Dark Side of the Moon, Gareth? Hey?
Yeah, let's get into it. We've done our cold open, James Bond style. Now, I trust you're going to now sing us an Academy Award nominated song.
Oh, yeah. Da da da. Let's roll on in. I do want to mention at the top of the show that when I picked this movie, it was pre all of the recent news and happenings with Russia. And I didn't realize going ahead that it would be so on the nose and so relevant and in a very bad way. And so for this episode, we aren't going to be talking about any of that stuff happening in the world. But yeah, this is just going to be a fun take on a James Bond movie, and we aren't going to be talking about the news. Okay, so just a nice escape and.
Yeah, not even an escape, but a chance to rest. We know you guys are out there. You're staying informed. You're, doing what you can to help. And this is just going to be just your chance to kind of kick back and dip into silly.
Into the James Bond universe, which is much more silly and action-packed and fun. So that's what the show is also going to try and do. We get the classic James Bond intro down the barrel scene. They do this, I think, in every one. I'm not entirely sure when it actually started. Maybe it was the first ever one. But yeah, perspective down the barrel of a gun. George Bond walks onto screen and shoots first, Han Solo style, and then there's a wipe of blood going down. It's like a classic kind of thing. The thing about this movie is that it informs, thing about the James Bond series is that it has informed a whole bunch of cinema, and it has all these serious rules that it follows across the whole series. Like there's recurring characters, obviously, but then also just like the way things play out. There's always like some kind of over-the-top scheme being carried out by a Bond villain. Like a Bond villain is like a whole thing on its own as compared to any other villain in any other film. They've got like so much more insane schemes and like secret bases and all kinds of stuff, right? And this movie is no exception. In fact, I would say it like covers off most of these tropes. Like it's like the Bond kind of film, At least that's my read.
Some of these rules are like disgusting to read now. Like, did you know there's a James Bond movie that was written by Roald Dahl?
What the fuck? Really?
I know, right?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Is it good?
I believe it's You Only Live Twice.
Okay.
It's got a bonkers moment in it.
Wow.
Where James Bond goes under disguise. But anyway, he was given this rule of like, there has to be 3 women and 2 of them must be dead by the end of the film and the other one James must run off with.
Yeah.
And it's like, yikes.
Yeah, that's kind of the deal.
So at least this doesn't quite do that, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely got the whole sexist overtones like carrying over from like the 50s, 60s when it started. It just kept going and going and going, But I feel like the series has evolved. Like
it's evolved.
Like the movie that we watch here in 1995, like a lot of these female characters do have like agency and are like actually characters into like in their own right. They aren't all pussy galores is what I'm trying to say, Gareth.
Yeah.
Oh
my god.
Anyway, yes, let's start the movie proper. We start in 1986. There's a mission in Russia where there's this, we don't really know who it is at this point, but it's Bond, flying in by plane to this like huge dam in the middle of Russia here. It's a cool set piece because he like jumps down out of this plane and rappels down the side of this of the dam into like full swan dive, like the world's most like dangerous bungee jump. Crazy. And yeah, we do go into breathe here for the like slow fall here. Like he goes, the fall itself is in slow-mo, and just the chords of Breathe rolling in over this was great.
Yeah, something about Breathe, It's like it's a song that's sneaking into you, into your ears. And it seems to always work when a movie starts with some sneaking.
Yes, which is what is it going on? We're sneaking on in via the bathrooms. Bond appears in like a toilet stall with like a Russian guard and like delivers his first one-liner of the film, saying that he forgot to knock.
Yeah.
Would you knock at a toilet stall? I guess seems a bit weird, but whatever.
Well, the like unwritten rule of stalls is like because of the way their doors work, is they won't close unless someone's on the other side having it locked. So you shouldn't knock.
You should just assume, right? I don't know. Maybe it's different in England.
If I was Pierce, I would be up all night after that, being like, you don't knock.
You don't knock.
What do I do?
Gosh.
Yeah, I could have done something about the fact that I was upside down. That could have been my pun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to his weekly improv class to try to figure out.
He's working on them every time. Yeah, he's got a whole like notebook full of good bits that he has prepared.
But they're exclusively about appearing upside down while someone's on the toilet. He like goes out of his way every mission to do that, just to make sure he nails it.
Yeah, well, like his partner here that he runs into now, because there's someone pulls from the darkness, pulls a gun on him, and it's 006. Alec Trevelyan is his character name, and is played by Sean Bean. He appears from the darkness, and he entered some other way, presumably not by swan diving into a toilet stall. Like that's not his move. That's not the Sean Bean way.
Yeah.
He probably arrived via horse or something. I assume.
I love that Sean Bean arrives to the lyric "Race Towards an Early Grave," considering he famously doesn't survive any movie he's in.
So true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's like I'm fairly certain there's like a website where you can like his ratio of like life versus death in films and series that he's been in.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like a graph of how much of the percentage of what he's in he's alive for.
Yeah, exactly. What's his average lifespan on screen?
Yeah. What's the expiry date on these beans?
Very good. And so they're like partners on this mission. They're doing like an infiltration of this base out here. We for the next like part of the proper infiltration-y part, we go into On the Run, which is also very good like stealth music. It's almost like incidental music playing here, which is quite cool. Like it would actually fit pretty well into what's playing out. They sneak on in to this room with like big tanks of gasoline, something, nuclear material. I think this is like a space base kind of situation out here, or something going on. They set up these little bomb timers everywhere on these big tanks to blow them up, and sets the timers for 6 minutes. But they are attacked by an alarm is triggered, and then they've got to be moving fast, so they're setting up all these things very quickly, and then the guards are like rushing in, and Colonel Urumov here, another character entering, who has a fantastic face. I love Urumov. He's just a good looking character actor, you know. There's lots of things in this scene that are going to come back. Like, basically all of the dialogue between 006 and 007 here are just going to be revisited later. This is a very formative moment for Alec Trevelyan. And, like, probably not that much for James, but, you know. Anyway, it affected him. So, so they're setting up these things, and then he calls out to Alec, who doesn't respond, and it's because he's got a gun pointed at his head. He's like standing with his hands, or kneeling with his hands behind his back, execution style. Not great. So Bond runs over to the timer of the bombs and sets it to be 3 minutes instead of 6, which is I only mention because it's super important.
Yeah.
And yeah, he comes out unarmed with his hands up over the crash sound. And there's a little bit of back and forth, and then Alec gets shot and goes down, or a shot goes off and he goes down, and Bond bolts and hides behind like one of these gas tank things on like a little cart or something. It's on wheels because he uses it as like a shield, because if any of the guards fire on this thing, the whole room's going to explode. It's really tense and really, really fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, we get the crash sound somewhere in here. I think with just him like moving slowly across. And then, someone like misfires and Uramov like kills them because as punishment, I guess. Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then, they... It's just good. Like him sneaking across here is like one of the parts that I really enjoyed, because like everyone's like making eye contact, and like they know that if anyone makes the wrong move, everyone dies, and it's very heightened and very good. So time starts coming in, and with the clocks, etc. As Bond does this like escape maneuver where he like goes onto like an airport travelator and gets zoomed outside the facility. Don't really know why this exists, but sure. He's like starts like taking off after this plane that's also taking off in the background, and like runs after it, wrestles the guy out of the cockpit. So this plane is now just like coasting and traveling on its own towards a cliff. And the Russians are getting on the backs of motorcycles and getting out there and just like chasing him down. One of them gets picked up by Bond. He knocks a guy off his motorcycle, steals it, and then like uses it chases the plane off the edge of the cliff. Now, this is super confusing, this part. So the plane is, like, in motion. It's online. Like, the propeller is going full tilt and propelling the plane forward. It's being propelled downwards as the plane is, like, forward and tilted downwards as it fell off the cliff. Bond himself is diving towards the plane. Now, I don't know much about physics, but there is no way that he is catching that plane. Just straight up, this is impossible. Like, if the plane was falling, like, without being on, sure, I could maybe see it. Like air resistance, etc. Bond could, like, position his body into a certain way where he would be falling faster than the plane, sure. But there's no way with the rotor going and it being propelled downwards that he would be able to catch it.
What if Bond is really heavy?
It could be that he...
What if we just don't know that about him?
Maybe he's a really heavy boy. Yeah, he's made of iron.
Dense. Yeah.
That could be the case. Like he does a lot of interesting stunts and stuff, so it would be impressive for a metal man to be doing those. But he is seemingly indestructible, so possible.
Yeah, I reckon it is. That's why he's, MI6 have kept him in there for so long, is he's just real heavy. He's Britain's heaviest man.
Britain's heaviest man. 007.
Yeah, they saw him on one of those like awful mid-2000s documentaries. Like, we're here in the house of Britain's heaviest man.
It's just...
And they were like, let's get this
sitting
guy.
in a chair, but surrounding the chair is just like a crater of from when he sat down.
There's like a child's soccer ball just orbiting him.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to create your own orbit. That's the true fear. When you affect your own gravitational pull. Yeah, it's an impressive stunt. It's fun, and so I'll allow it, even though it makes no sense. But so he like dives inside the plane and like mashes the controls so that he can tilt up and escape and fly, narrowly avoiding the hill in front of him, and then flies off into the distance as the facility behind him explodes. And we go into killing Alec Trevelyan, presumably. And we go into the opening titles, which is another like major Bond movie thing. These
from day one.
Yeah, just like super wild, very visually eclectic and interesting opening titles for these movies, and they're like you could do a podcast just about these, like each Bond movie's opening titles and like what goes into them, and they're vaguely to do with the plot most of the time, but it's also like a lot of dancing babes and a lot of guns. And like all of them have to have that kind of element to them, alongside like really weird visual representations of set pieces. Do you have a favorite intro to a Bond movie? Like a favorite opening credits?
I'm trying to think of that. So there is actually an amazing article. It's not a podcast, but Art of the Title did a great feature about 50 years of James Bond titles back in 2012. And it kind of shows them all, and there's links to interviews with a lot of the creators. I don't know what my favorite is. I think this might be my least favorite.
Yeah, this one's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, it's very like boneheaded. It's just like sexy ladies destroying communism.
Yeah, like standing on top of silenced pistols and dancing, and then like hammers and sickles like falling, and they do have the like statues bit. I like the statues. That would like got me interested into like what this movie's going to be about. I was like, oh, what's going on with this like statue graveyard that we're in? And that comes in, so that's always fun.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
I think my favorite's probably Skyfall. I really love the intro to that because it's all like underwater. The start of that movie, he like falls into the water, and the like water plays like a regular motif throughout the movie. And it's everything like falling to the bottom of like a lake and kicking up dust, and everything like turning into that like silt dust at the bottom of the sea or at the bottom of a lake. It's a really nice looking effect. And it has all those set pieces, but just having a whole sequence that's like underwater themed is really cool. Yeah, that's a good call. And how do you find... So the other big thing about James Bond, every movie has a song. It has a theme, usually by the like hottest artist of the day.
True. How do you find the Goldeneye theme when you obviously listen to it without Pink Floyd playing over
so
it?
I did. Of course, I watched this movie clean and heard Tina Turner's Goldeneye song.
Co-written by Bono and The Edge.
Whoa, wild.
Yeah.
Man. It's a weird one, honestly. It was cool. It's like not your typical Tina Turner track at all.
No.
So that was pretty bizarre. It's not bad. It's not like a bad song, but it's also not like an earworm. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there have definitely been better ones. Like you mentioned it in the top of the show, You Know My Name. That's gotta be the best one. Like
I felt like I did send you a little text, like, what are your favorite, who's your favorite James Bond? What's your favorite James Bond song, etc. Just to, get the ball rolling, because we're podcast professionals.
Yo, podcast pros.
I'll just check my microphone's working. It is. I thought you would say You Know My Name by Chris Cornell. I had a feeling.
It's fucking great. Shout outs.
It is. I'm like not the biggest Chris Cornell guy, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I think it's like one of his like best songs that he like ever made. Honestly, it's just such a great track. Oh, it has the like spy theme to it. It's got the like mystery and then this like huge bombastic chorus, and it's fucking great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also another really good intro with all the like poker theming.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite title sequences.
Nice.
Yeah. My favorite James Bond song, I know all the fans are wanting me to say Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die, because name a more Gareth Blackwell song. It's completely bonkers. It's, they got a Beatle on the line and they were like, sweet, we've got Paul McCartney to do our song,
on the hook.
fresh off the Beatles, let's go. And he gives them this like bizarre orchestral rock song that has a reggae breakdown.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it scares you. Like, I listened to the song by itself, like, I think twice this week, and every time it gets to, like, what does it matter to ya? I, like, jumped in fear.
That's true fear. That's just out of nowhere, you get a reggae break, and you're like, what? No!
Yeah.
Who? What?
You check the radio's working.
It would be only improved if he just did, like, a ska breakdown. Pick it up!
Yes.
Like, that kind of thing in the middle. That'd be great.
If someone covers it, they've got to go ska in the middle. That's got to happen.
Oh my God.
Jeff Rosenstock's got to do it.
Yes, get him on there. Get him on the next Bond thing.
Actually, yeah. We'll talk about that as well. I want to know who you want to hear as the next Bond theme. But while you think of that, my favourite, and it feels basic, it's like saying your favourite's Casino Royale, which
Basic Bond.
My favourite song is You Only Live Twice.
Oh, yes. This is a good one.
It's gotta be.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh.
Nothing to really say about it. I used to put it on at the end of parties. Like, to, help everyone relax.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Man, what other Bond song would you put on at the end of the party, man? That's like, some of them are like...
Put on the bloody Sam Smith one to get everyone to leave.
Yeah, whoa, roasted. Dang. For the who I would get to write a Bond song, I reckon I'd go. I'd want Twister to come do a verse, just a really fast rap about James Bond. Yes. I want him to do like a full plot synopsis via rap.
Not only of the movie you're seeing, because Twister raps so fast, you could get like every James Bond up to that point covered.
He'd do the whole history in like 3 minutes. Man's a king.
Like, we're joking, but that, like, the strings at the start of his song Overnight Celebrity would be so good in a James Bond title sequence.
Get Twister on there. I'm not joking. I am serious that is my choice.
I mean, they need to shake it up. Like,
just give me a full rap. It'd be fucking great. Or like a fucking like a drill rapper from the UK. That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking, like, what would, if they tried to really get the sound of today, like that kind of 100 Gex kind of Kero Bonito kind of vibe, the like super hyper pop PC music. God. But have you heard Die Another Day, the theme song to Die Another Day?
I have not, no.
It is wild. It is pretty much
like hyper pop
PC music.
Whoa.
Yeah. At one point, it's Madonna of all people, and she just like got into the wrong time machine and brought back a song from like the scarier version of 2022. And they weren't ready.
The wrong time machine. That's so good. Yeah. That's my favorite Wallace and Gromit. Okay, that's enough on Bond intros, I reckon, eh? Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you give your who you would want to record?
Oh gosh. I'm excited by a rapper, really, or like just something to, because the last three have just been ballads. Like Billie Eilish could have been so exciting, but she just kind of made a James Bond song instead of James Bond getting a Billie Eilish song. Yeah. So yeah, I want someone that will reflect the now. So like, yeah, I think Mitski would do really well.
People have heard that's of a good pick.
Yeah, Saint Vincent, like, if she's allowed to, like, shred over one.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Maybe, like, someone who does really good, like, auto-tune kind of stuff.
The 808s era of James Bond. Into it.
Honestly, yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, yeah. So not much more to say about the intro, but it is a very important part of James Bond lore, and we needed to cover it off. So yeah, So Pink Floyd have said that we have talked too long enough as well, because they thought I had something more to say as we get the the breakdown in time here, the time signature shift, or not time signature shift, the tempo change in time. And yeah, as these credits end and we have flash forward to 9 years later, after 1986, so 93. We have Bond driving around in a car. Psych, he's driving around in an Aston Martin DB5, Gareth. I did my research. Bond cars are another really important thing, and I want to cover that off. I wanted to do my research. Nice looking car, like the Aston Martin DB5. That's a classic, baby. Looks good.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's driving around with this like inspector kind of lady who's doing his like performance review for MI6 effectively. And she's very frazzled because he's just going absolutely ham around these like fjords, just driving the Aston Martin to its limit. And they're being followed / racing against another character who we've not met yet, but I'm going to introduce her anyway. It's Xenia, who is in a Ferrari F355 GTS, a bright red Ferrari with the top down, looking good. And she's got like a matching scarf and everything. She's got her black hair flowing in the wind. It's a good look for Xenia, I must say. I sort of fell in love with her in this instant when I saw her, and then regretted it as the film continues. So yeah, I kind of get what's going on.
You don't think you guys would be a good match?
Nah, probably not. I feel like she'd snap me like a twig.
Yeah.
So not ideal. Not that I'm not up for a challenge.
You're just wearing like a WWE wrestler belt, like several of them, to try to you can't snap me.
She's like murdered this like old naval official, and I'm like, I can fix her. Anyway, yeah, so they're sort of racing around these tight bends and stuff, and bit of danger racing going on as we go into Great Gig, which is not the best car chase music. This sequence itself is really weird because like it's just Bond having a bit of fun and not really paying attention to what's important here. He's just racing against this hot babe and in a car and doing his thing, and it's showing his like cavalier playboy kind of style, but not much more than that. I guess that's what we're introducing here, that like James Bond is fun, guys, remember? Like that kind of thing. It's been like 6 years or something since the last James Bond film came out. So maybe people were due a reminder. So, like, eventually they avoid like some cyclists and stuff who all toppled like dominoes, and
so silly.
Very, very silly. The inspector lady like demands that they stop, and he like just seduces her. Like, apparently this was enough to like convince her. That he like opens this like secret compartment that has some Bollinger in it, and he's like, and now we'll have all the sex, and she's like, okay. It's really weird.
Yeah. We say like the movies have come a long way, but stuff like this will still happen, and you'll be like,
I guess it's like I think the movie is just introducing like that he is James Bond. He is the James Bond that you know. It's the same guy. He's still trying to like, he loves a bit of danger, loves a bit of sex with the ladies, and he's everything. He loves his cars, and he's the same. He's the one that you know. It's going to be a good time. Don't worry. I think that's what this scene is for. we get a very nice synced cut to the next scene with Great Gig. With like it's like when Great Gig gets a bit quieter after the like very loud vocal section. We go up to this like nice fancy hotel in Monte Carlo, which is where we are, by the way. And yeah, it's a nice wee sync there as we go in. Bond is like pursuing this woman that he was racing against. And he finds her at the baccarat table. Do you know how to play baccarat? I had no idea what was going on here.
No, neither. I mean, I get confused, like, with poker, which, considering that's most of Casino Royale, I'm kind of just, like, nodding along. My main poker strategy is to not know the rules, and then if I have a good hand, no one can read if I'm bluffing. Yeah.
Very powerful. You just decide all your plays at random. You should spin a wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was very confused. I've never played a game of baccarat, so I did my research into the cars. I'm not going to learn to play baccarat for the podcast. Sorry.
That's for Patreon. We'll do an audio documentary about you learning
James baccarat.
Yeah, you have to pay to teach James how to play it.
We'll put that on there. So he joins her at the table, and there's a bit of like back and forth and like flirting between them, and Bond beats her at baccarat and takes all her money as we go into money, which is nice. And then he like buys her a drink, and Bond slyly puts in that he recognizes that the license plate on her Ferrari is fraudulent. That she's like at least like a petty criminal. She's her license plate is wrong, and so she leaves with this like older looking gentleman who. I don't really know if we know this right now, but he's like a member of the Russian Navy or something, I think, or like the French Navy. I don't really. He's a member of a navy. Anyway, so they get moved to leave, and like Bond watches them go, but he has to walk through the most bizarre looking like pantomime play. The fuck is going on here?
God, I forgot about this.
It's like. There's like jesters in like full white makeup. I don't know what is going on. Like a bit of Shakespeare in the Park or something. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's so distracting that you're ready for him to stay and watch it for a bit so you can finally get your bearings. And then it's over and never addressed again.
No, he just like had to like walk through it. It's just bizarre that there's like gambling happening at this hotel, and then suddenly we're like outside in this weird play. Like, I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
Release the Gareth cut where it just, from then on, is just the play, and you just have to, the rest of Goldeneye's happening, but we just get to watch these mimes.
It's just the play that's in the middle of Goldeneye, at the very beginning of Goldeneye. After reassuring the audience that nothing's changed with James Bond, it goes into like a 45-minute mimed play.
Yes. It's all metaphors for satellites.
For what's going to happen in the film. So he walks through this bizarre situation, and we won't dwell on it further. And we see them going on board this like boat, and Bond also clocks in the distance that there's a like a naval kind of frigate or like a battleship kind of thing docked in the harbor as well. And then goes over to his car to get some intel from Moneypenny, who's called in and has ID'd this person as Xenia, and who is a noted criminal suspected with links to the Janus crime syndicate, or Janus crime syndicate. Unsure at this stage. It's been a little while since I watched the movie clean, so I can't remember if it's Janus or Janus or any anus in between. I don't know.
Oh god, that's the audio someone's going to cut out of this.
Please. But anyway, yes. So she is linked to the syndicate. She's an ex-fighter pilot, And yeah, she's definitely shouldn't be here. So something's up. And so has been instructed to follow her, but like keep it in your pants, Bond, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah. So we cut from there to Xenia having like really intense sex with this guy, this old guy, being very rough on him, to the point that she kills him with like breaking his bones. Unsure how she's doing this. She's some kind of like sex warrior. I don't really know what her deal is.
Yeah, she squeezes him really, really hard with her legs.
And kills him.
And she's loving it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's the main character
Yeah,
trait.
so Xenia, she gets off on the like pain, on causing pain and also receiving pain. She's like a psychotic in that way. And so she's like uses like sex as a weapon as well. And throughout the movie, we'll see that. Very weird, very intense lady. But
interestingly, the idea of squeezing someone to death is actually from the unofficial James Bond parody film, also named Casino Royale, from the 60s. Which there was a character called Miss Good Thighs. So yikes.
Wow.
And then they just like repurposed, which is pretty cool. They like took that and made it like serious and scary.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, okay. Shout outs to Miss Good Thighs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Giovanna Good Thighs. Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. So my subtitles over this like sex murder sequence made me laugh out loud. By the way, they said, "He cries with pain, she with pleasure." Like such a formal way of writing it. I was like, "What the fuck? Why is this like a novel?" But yeah, thank you very much, subtitle writer, for that. So we go into Money verse 2 as we cut to the next scene. The next day, Bond is like sneaking on board this boat to investigate what went down there via a little jet boat that he has. Don't know how. He goes in and sneaks aboard and finds that Admiral Guy is dead in the cupboard. He like falls out, all frozen, pretty rough, rigor mortis. So he's like, oh shit, something's up. And so he chases after Xenia to this, the big naval boat, where there's a special helicopter demonstration taking place for the French Navy out here. They've built this very special helicopter that can't be detected on radar and can survive electric and nuclear radiation, apparently. It's like... Apparently it's a real helicopter is the crazy thing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know how much of that is true, like those stats that the guy gave. I'm pretty sure it is actually a helicopter though, like a one that is used by militaries. So that's cool. And yes, Xenia like sneaks in and seduces and then kills a couple of pilots. And then her and an unknown co-pilot go aboard the helicopter and steal it out from under the noses of everyone here at this demonstration, and they can't do anything about it. And Bond tries to stop them, but he's like a dude coming up to this boat in a speedboat, running towards the helicopter, and like everyone's like no, and pins him to a wall. Yeah. There's like a full navy here to stop him. So yeah, it doesn't go far. So we go into like the first verse of Us and Them right there as well. Like as soon as he is like pinned and watching this helicopter take off, Us and Them's like vocal kicks in and I'm like, yeah, nice. We cut from there to Severnaya in Russia, which is a real place, but not where it is on the map of Russia. Yeah, Severnaya is an actual place, but it's like up in the far Arctic, like really, really, really high top Arctic. And on the maps in this movie, it's like dead center Russia, which isn't the case.
Oh, guys, go to the library and get an atlas.
Yeah, I guess it would have just looked weird having it like right at the top of the map. Everybody like, what's going on? I don't know. So they just put it right in the middle of Russia so that people couldn't miss it. It does make way more sense for like a space weapons control center to be right at the top of the planet, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we get some new characters introduced here, like working at the space base. There's Natalia, who's this lady, like a computer programmer lady, who's just wanting to do her job while her coworker Boris is messing with her computer. Using like the same hacker technology used in like Jurassic Park, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
And just like using it to mess with her and like password protect her computer with like very rude, lewd passwords just to like fuck with her. Also, the art style of this like Spike program or whatever he's using uses this art style of caricature that was super popular in the 90s that I haven't seen since.
Yeah.
Like, just like these hideous troll versions of the characters. And he uses it as like an avatar of himself throughout the movie. This like nightmare troll version of Boris. It's just super...
Like, he went to Surfers Paradise in Australia and paid $10 for a caricature and never looked
Exactly.
back.
He's just like, this is my identity now. This is the real Boris. Yeah, it's a really weird look. But yeah, haven't seen it since the 90s, so that was a throwback.
Boris in general, like, he's played by Alan Cumming, and it's such a waste of Alan Cumming, who these days would make an amazing, like, proper Bond villain.
Yeah, wow.
He's just playing, like, a lewd, rude, Hawaiian-shirted dude. Some great glasses, but otherwise just a real huge, like, Eastern European stereotype.
Yeah, basically.
Even down to the fact they just named him Boris.
It's not ideal. He does have some, like, fun quirks. He's got stuff going on with his character outside of that that's, like, reasonably interesting, but it's pretty shallow. He's just, he's just sort of, this gross computer nerd guy, and that's his whole deal.
So he exists so Bond can dunk on a nerd later.
Yeah, he's like, another part of his character is that he's like got a big like ego. He thinks he's the best kind of computer programmer, and he's smarter than everybody. He's like, he hacks into the Russian government, not the Russian, the American government, the like Department of Defense or something, and they spot him and try and trace him, but he like stops that from happening with a Spike program, and like freezes their computer and puts like a message from him saying like, get out of here, slug heads, something like that.
You didn't say the magic word.
Yeah, exactly, like that level. But yeah, he thinks he's hot shit, basically. Anyway, this like, he goes for a cigarette outside, and then we see the helicopter arrive. And it's Xenia coming out, and also her co-pilot was the now General Urumov. He's been promoted, baby. Congrats. And yeah, they're here to test the weapon that these people are in charge of. I don't know, like, if they do they just like develop these weapons out here? Is that what's going on? Like, hard to say.
Yeah, I guess so. The thing about James Bond movies, and I'm going to admit it this far in, I have huge amounts of trouble following the plot.
My God, yeah.
Like, I get a lot of it, like enough to kind of get through it, but yeah, there's always something that loses me. And I will say, watching it, like I've seen this movie 4 times now. Watching it with Pink Floyd playing was the most, like, I understood.
Wow.
Like, for the first time. Like, I missed an entire important thing about the character of Alec.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Oh my God, yeah. His motivations are like maybe the most complicated character motivations I've seen in a film.
Oh, absolutely.
It's ridiculous, yeah. Anyway, we'll get there. So they're coming down these stairs, and there's like a voice-activated entryway here, which is, again, like something that's so 90s cool. People being like, the future of technology is this like voice-activated security system, which would be so annoying to deal with in real life. Like, if we had to like speak to our phones every time to open them, fuck, that would be annoying. Oh my God. Anyway. So yeah, the office is like rallied into position because they're going to do like a test fire of the weapon that is being used there. It's like a military like sort of drill as if they were going to war. And so they all get ready. The general gets given the like keys to the kingdom or whatever. It comes out on this like little drawer. There are two little keys. It's all very like Yu-Gi-Oh-ish, actually. They're like little keys emblazoned with eyes and a enormous like. How to describe this thing? It looks like a Polly Pocket or like with like a enormous topaz embedded in it. This is a spoiler, but like Alec comes back in the film, and later on he describes it as the world's best cash card, which just destroyed me. It's the funniest description for this thing. Fuck. Imagine trying to pay with the Goldeneye somewhere. Being like, pull that out of your wallet. And everyone's like, what the fuck? He's like, Is
this guy about to check his Neopet? What was Tamagotchi? What's going on here?
Yeah, inside there's a little creature that you gotta feed him and you gotta clean his poops. That's the real Goldeneye. That's why everyone's in this facility. They're just taking care of this Tamagotchi.
Yeah. I feel like I've told this story before, but we got Tamagotchis as a kid, and it was to keep us quiet on a long car trip, and we were just so distressed because our Tamagotchis immediately died. And so my parents were like, oh, we've just given our children much more stress before this long car trip.
No. That's so tragic.
Yeah, I needed a full base to look after my gotchi.
You gotta get the Goldeneye base on the gotchi.
Yeah, full gotchi gang.
That's gonna be a Twister lyric later on. Gotta get the Goldeneye base on the gotchi. Anyway, so they get these keys, and then it's like, right. They shift gears, and Xenia just starts gunning people down, like double Kalashnikovs, killing office workers, and like grunting in sexual pleasure. It's disgusting. She's loving it. And even Oromov gives her this like raised eyebrow look, being like, what the fuck? And then, we go into Any Color You Like as they're just like stepping over the bodies. Natalia is terrified and is hiding in the like office like kitchen. She'd gone to get like a cup of tea after Boris had messed with her, and so she's hanging out in there trying to hide. Xenia and Oromov activate the Goldeneye. They turn their keys at the same time. The way it activates is bizarre as well. The little like cash card thing, the topaz, the gotchi shoots a little beam up into like a prism and then shoots at the screen. Bizarre.
Yeah,
that's just some gotchi magic that I thoroughly enjoyed. But yeah, it's just hilarious to me whenever one of these like serious spy thriller movies uses a crystal in some way. So good. So they they set the weapon to fire on their current location, which is pretty bizarre. Like when that threw me for a loop. I was like, what are they doing? What? Like I got that they were stealing this like weapon. I was like, sure. But then they like blow up the area where they were going to use it. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it all does. So they're gonna like destroy all the evidence of them stealing the thing, and it'll all make sense. And yeah, so we see the little Goldeneye satellite up in space as well. It's got like a USSR kind of printed on it, and it's ready to get into position to fire on 7i. And yeah, an alarm goes off, and then these jets start approaching and coming in to see what's going on, like pass over the base. And Natalia, we think, is hiding in a vent, but actually hides in a cupboard and survives an attack from Xenia. And they get out of there. Like Urumov and Xenia leave in their helicopter and get out of there. And then we cut to MI6 for Bond getting like a debrief after what happened in Monte Carlo and with the helicopter and all that. And in the Situation Room, Moneypenny is...
It's my favorite room in the Jersey Shore house.
Yeah, oh my God. It's like set up exactly the same, except the situation is there. Like, he's just surrounded by like enormous screens showing Russia. It's like, what? There you go. That's just what
he's like, how did I get involved in this?
He's just out of his depth. Poor the situation. Moneypenny here, wearing a nice dress, off on a date. I like that she's sort of a foil to Bond. She has very little to do in this movie, just this one scene, and we heard her voice earlier. But like, she's like doesn't fall for him. She's one of the ladies that doesn't have a thing for him or whatever, and like they sort of like barb at each other over it, which is good. I wish more of the ladies were like this. Like, I was really hoping for Natalia later in the film to have the exact same kind of relationship with Bond. I would have really appreciated that, but nope.
Yeah, when I would watch these as a teenager, these James Bond movies, something in my like deep like animal brain would just will every female character to not find James Bond like attractive.
Yeah. Just can't happen though.
And you miss out.
Yeah.
When it's the bras.
Moneypenny's your girl though. She can resist his masculine wiles, Gareth. She's the only one who can. And yeah, we go into brain damage as we go down to the Situation Room. There's a debrief from some guy called Tanner down here. And we get introduced to M, who is also brand new in the role, Judi Dench. Fucking great as M. The first female M. Like, had always historically been a man in performance before, right?
Yeah, and always just sort of like a kind of droll kind of character for James Bond to be all like cheeky around. Like, just kind of like a loser boss kind of character. And like, she doesn't get to do it too much until maybe Skyfall, but like, Judi Dench is bringing a whole new energy to this role, and like putting it in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, she's fucking great as M. She's like a no nonsense like hard ass from the get go, and it's so good.
Yeah,
she's like the like Lethal Weapon boss to the nth degree. In a great way, but also like is not afraid to get her hands dirty, as you'll see later on in the series as well, which is fucking cool. So yeah, like I'm a huge fan of her performance as M, and also just a huge fan of Judi Dench in general. So I was stoked to see her.
Yeah, old Deuteronomy herself.
Okay, so they're like watching on screen. They've found the helicopter out in 7i, and they're like trying to see what's going on there, who's leaving with it or whatever. They want to like try and trace it. And they're also talking about the base where they're at is suspected to be developing this Goldeneye weapon. But they determined that it couldn't exist because the Russians didn't have the finance or the technology to do so. But they're about to be proven wrong. So these jets make a pass over top of the facility and don't see anything. And then Natalia looks up at the screen and sees that the Goldeneye is firing and like ducks for cover under some stairs. And yeah, the Goldeneye up in space shoots this little beam down to Earth. It's like an EMP blast, and it hits, and like it doesn't seem to do any damage, and then everything starts exploding. All the electronics in the facility explode. The jets flying overhead explode. One of the jets collides with the base itself and takes out part of the structure for the dish, the enormous dish that is used to like contact the weapon. Yeah, it's pretty wild over brain damage, like a whole bunch of destruction. And yeah, very likely to cause brain damage. So I guess, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so at MI6, they like watch this explosion happen, and then all of their screens shut off, and they can't see what's going on. And they're like, oh, fuck, what? Yeah. We go into Eclipse, and Natalia has like a series of scrapes where she's trying to like avoid different parts of the facility exploding. She can't escape because she has to like use her voice activation to try and leave, but of course she's talking to like a broken television and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So she's trapped. There's a very sweet scene where she like covers up one of her friends at the office with like covers up her face after she's dead on the ground. And I was like, oh, like that kind of like touching moment of humanity there in this movie. Yeah, it was good. And then she's like just frustrated and looking around, and then the dish like falls through the top of the facility and like nearly like pins her underneath of it. And yeah, she like very bravely climbs up the dish to escape the like trellised metal, which would probably be like scorching hot. Everything's on fire here. So I guess it's cold outside, but goddamn, dangerous. But yeah, she's getting out of there. Yeah. Manages to escape. She sees there's some like stroke. She does have one stroke of luck, and that there's like a dog sled out here for some reason, and she uses that to escape, presumably. Yeah. Cut back to MI6, and they're like, they get picture back, and they're like seeing all the devastation of this blast, talking about that it's the EMP going off, some classic Matrix shit, electromagnetic pulse, in case I haven't said that already. Yeah, frying all the electrics in the area. M actually like explains how it works, and that they like activate like a nuclear device in space, and that causes this like blast of radiation which fries the electrics. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Famously, this is the show where I didn't know what an EMP was, and you had to tell me about
there you
it.
go.
So I'm taking, that's why I'm like, of course it looks like a Tamagotchi.
Yeah, you got that gotchi. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go into Breathe and playthrough 2 here, baby. Rolling in, and as they have a bit of discussion about this, they're saying like Bond suspects that this definitely wasn't a training kind of accident or something, because the helicopter that was there is like the perfect getaway vehicle for the Goldeneye, and that it's unaffected by the radiation blast. So they needed the helicopter in order to steal the Goldeneye. So he knows. Like he knows that it's not just a coincidence, even though that later on the government denies that there was any kind of issue here. It was just a routine training exercise, the classic, line.
Yeah. Like saying it's a weather balloon.
Yeah, exactly. He suspects that it's this Yanis. I'm just going to say Yanis. I've just chosen Yanis group.
Go for it.
Judging by Xenia being connected. He's like, it's got to be Yanis. So he's going to go investigate that. And yeah, he also says that there has to be someone on the inside to have done this. It's got to be an inside job, because you don't like steal a nuclear weapon because you need the codes to do so. So someone working at that facility had to know what was going on for that to even happen. So it has to be someone there that knows what's happening, knows what's going on and has survived, presumably. And so, and then they see that someone's out there, which is Natalia, who, is taken off on her dog sled, probably. We go from here into like a debrief from M before Bond's to set off to Russia on his adventure. And then, this is the good M shit.
Yes. He's about to get denched.
Oh, yeah. Dench the mensch. She's great. Talking about, they talk a bit of business first, discussing they don't know the identity of the leader of the Yanis, the crime syndicate, but they have some suspicions. They have a suspect, Urumov, who has been promoted, as I mentioned earlier, but they ruled him out because he doesn't seem the type. Basically, they ruled him out because he's loyal to the government, etc. And and then Bond's like, oh yeah, just like you ruled out the Goldeneye being real and all this other rubbish. And M's like, you don't like me, do you? I get it, dude. You think that I'm just pushing pins over here, but don't think for a minute that I'm not going to send you to your death, all right? I'm gonna I am a hard ass and you should respect me. And also, you need to fucking shut up and listen. I was just like, oh my God, I love her. She doesn't approve of Bond and his messing about, his fun with cars, his fun with women. She wants him to get in and get out and do the job, And she's she doesn't approve of him. So him not approving of her, she doesn't give a shit about that. She's like, I will send you on this mission knowing that you likely will die. But I will say, I won't do it lightly, all right? You need to, you need to follow my orders. And here they are. Find the Goldeneye, find out what the plan is to use it, and stop it. Stop the plan. And if you come across Urumov, don't just try and kill him for revenge for what happened with 006. Because Bond blames Urumov, but also blames himself for what happened with his partner getting killed and abandoning his partner on that mission. So he feels guilt about that and would probably try and kill Urumov if he encountered him. So, instructs him directly not to do that. So, Also, final order, come back alive.
She does this beautiful, I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War. Completely tears down the entire James Bond franchise.
Yeah.
And it's so good, and it's just such a shame that they didn't do anything with it. They say it, and then they this movie's great, but it's still very much a James Bond movie. And then all the next Brosnans are so James Bond that they kind of they're like a kid in high school pointing out his flaws, and they're not trying to change them. Yeah,
exactly. They haven't learned the lesson. They've just heard people say that this is the problem, and they're just saying it. They're saying it to be cool, Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. It'll learn eventually.
Still, at least we all got to get denched.
We got denched.
With that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sent to the bench by Dench.
The Dench bench! And it's all her, weirder characters hanging out. Who, ones she keeps, not actually in the game.
Buddy Tanner's on the bench. Get out of here, Tanner. You're out of the fucking film, mate. See ya! So we go from here to a debrief, another debrief. Lots of debriefing here in Russia. Urumov is meeting with the Minister for Defense. I think this guy's name's Dmitry, and a whole bunch of board members of Russian bigwig government types, talking about the accident that happened at Severnaya. And it was his facility that he was in charge of. And so he's like, I'm investigating it. And he says it was Siberian separatists that were behind it, behind the attack. And it's okay, made that up, pulled that out of nowhere. But he also says, very smart move, he tenders his resignation because of the accident. And all the, I like that all the big wigs are just going oh, when he says that. Which
Rebel.
They do not approve of this. And yeah, so they say, no, you don't have to do that. But you need to investigate the survivors. And he's like, survivors? There was only one survivor, right? And he's like, no. Boris survived, which you already knew, and Natalia also survived. And he's like, oh, I will go and find these people and find out what they know. It could be very helpful. Dun. Yes, you investigate personally. Yeah. For that, we're having On the Run playing over top, by the way. Yeah, I think we get the crash sound right as Oromov figures out or he finds out that Natalia survived the attack. So I guess that's like a crash sound in his mind being like, oh shit, a hole in my plan. Yeah, could well be.
Yeah, this is like the theme of his plans failing, really.
Yeah.
Well, only twice. But
it is pretty wild that, like, this has all been set up so far, and we're already, like, pretty good of a way through our second play before, like, any of the, like, Russia adventure starts in this movie. Like, we're, like, a good, like, 50 minutes into the film before Bond gets to Russia, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, he hasn't even, like, got his gadgets yet.
It's all, like, the bad guys winning at the start, I guess. Like, doing all their crazy schemes. But, yeah, it's gadget time now, because we go and visit Q at MI6. The quartermaster, of course, Q. Played by Desmond Llewellyn for his 15th time as Q. This dude. He was in 17... Bond movies playing Q. What a boss. Really good as Q as well. Like, I think he's a really fun Q. He's not too... He's like a bit... He's like obviously quite slapstick and silly, but he's not like John Cleese silly, you know? Like, he has sort of like just a like wise old man kind of vibe to him.
Very whimsical.
Yeah. I like. He's like it feels like a very like magical Willy Wonka kind of quality to him, and that he's got all these like great like clever gadgets and things for Bond to try. And yeah. He is, however, introduced very silly in that he's got like a missile shooting out of a foot cast, which is hilarious. And then, they're testing all kinds of weapons down here. There's a new car that Bond gets and barely uses, frustratingly. He gets a BMW Z3, which is another fantastic looking car. Like, this car, oh my God, I love it.
This was the start of James Bond's BMW sponsorship, I think. So product placement is the other huge part of his films,
there's so much. It's hilarious. The motorcycle that we saw earlier that Bond drove off a cliff to catch the plane was like heavily branded Ducati, which was great. So yeah.
Yeah, and the watch he puts on is the start of his Omega partnership that the films still have. Yeah. And famously, the Daniel Craig era, they got a Heineken sponsorship, so Bond drinks his first beer.
Oh my God. Bizarre.
Yeah. In fact, that's one of the reasons No Time to Die was postponed.
Too much beer.
First, it was obviously postponed due to... felt too bloated.
Beers, mate.
It is the longest James Bond film, so it could be too bloated for all the Heinekens.
Got him.
It was so... Because obviously it was delayed for the pandemic, and then they could have released it earlier, but a lot of the product placement had to be reshot. Because suddenly, like, characters were using old phones and, like, not wearing the latest watch.
How would you even fucking tell people are using old phones? All phones just look like black rectangles at the moment. Like, it's just...
I guess...
It's not, like, interesting or... I would not be able to, like, tell an iPhone, like, 8 from an iPhone 10 or whatever. I have no idea. Like...
Yeah.
Especially if it's someone's hand. If it's in someone's hand. Like, how the fuck? I don't know. Ridiculous.
But I suppose if like Samsung or iPhone were paying you to put their phone in, you'd shoot it in a way where you can tell what kind of phone
I guess so. Yeah. He just starts
character constantly holding it towards the camera, like on speaker.
Weird. It's just, is Bond deaf? Why is he holding the phone to his head and it's on speakerphone? That's so strange. Anyway, yes, this BMW is great. It's described as having Stinger missiles in the headlights, which is so annoying because they don't go off. It's fucking so rude to tell me that there are missiles in the headlights and not fire them. Fucking, what are you doing? Yeah. Come on, that's easy. That's easy. They use everything else. Anyway,
they don't even 21 Jump Street it, where they act like it's going to happen, and then that never happens or anything like that. There's no gag. It's just they obviously had to delete a scene or reuse them or something. Yeah, they forgot.
Yeah, maybe Bond just forgot. There's a joke about it later that when he loans his car to the CIA guy. But that's it. It's so weird. Anyway, maybe the CIA guy blows himself up at the end in that car. He just like accidentally turns the headlights on when it gets a bit dark and explodes. Leaving his garage.
I mean, he's never into them again, as far as I know.
There you go. He blew himself up in Q's car. Anyway,
official.
He also gets a couple of other toys. He gets a belt that has the buckle shoots a repelling cord 75 meters long, and it can hold his weight. Pretty cool, pretty useful, I would say. Fucking dangerous. Imagine trying to put your belt on, you shoot a piton into your hand. God, terrifying. Also, a pen that's a grenade. If you click it 3 times, the fuse starts, and it's 4 seconds. And if you've got to click it 3 more times, and that disables the fuse. And yeah, they test it out on a crash test dummy. And there's a bit of a weird line delivery where Desmond Llewellyn says, "Don't say it," and then Bond says, "The writing's on the wall," really confused. It's like he has the joke. It's like everyone's reading the joke. They have it. It's just the delivery's wrong. It just seems unnatural, you know? Anyway. It is one-upped by a better joke where he Q scolds Bond for picking up a sandwich, being like, "Don't touch that!" Everything else in this room is exploded and it's just his lunch. That's a good bit. That's a classic. Very nice.
Yeah, such a silly scene.
Yeah,
but
it's good stuff.
You gotta have
him. Yeah, it's just Q branches its own little special world inside MI6. It's it adds to the romance of the James Bond story, I think, you know? You get to imagine every movie is what cool gadgets are you gonna get, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. So we go into the verse of time, the second verse, and Bond flies into Russia. He arrives in Russia, British Airlines, and he gets picked up by a fairly obvious CIA agent named Jack Wade, very American guy, great. And he's like, you Brits and your secret codes and passwords. So good. And yeah, they get into this guy. They go over to this guy's shitty little VW car. I don't know what this car is. All right. I didn't research all the cars. But yeah.
The movie didn't want you to look this one up. You're fine.
No, it's just a piece of shit little mini thing. And yeah, Bond demands to go through the whole rigmarole with this guy's knowing the password, and he's got a tattoo on his hip of a rose that says Muffy. It's just such a bizarre thing to be in this movie, but whatever, it's here. Yeah. We also see that Natalia has made her way into St. Petersburg as well, and is looking surprisingly good for someone who's survived an explosion. Yeah, she's obviously gone home and done herself up a bit after that. But anyway, The CIA are also looking for Yanis and don't know, after that explosion, they're here investigating the same thing, and they don't know who the leader is either, and have a bit of a chat. Hilariously, Jack says that like his car runs like a dream, it hasn't broken down yet, and then the very next scene it's broken down, which is so good, like off screen, and he's here fixing it as he's chatting to Bond. Very carefully adjusting the mechanism and then hitting the thing with a sledgehammer to bring it to life.
Yeah.
Classic. Very good. He says that the other only known associate for the Yanis group is a guy called Zhukovsky, who is this like mean old Russian guy with a limp. And Bond apparently knows the guy and apparently gave him the limp. So bad blood there. Not a good plan. That's the only lead they have. So they're going to go talk to Zhukovsky. Natalia, meanwhile, goes to an IBM shop, a computer store, home computing, Gareth. Have you heard of it?
You can get the internet at home.
Oh my God, surf that World Wide Web. Ride your mouse.
It'll still be, I think, 8 years before my family got the internet.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Logging up to the online.
Yeah.
It's very good. I love all the old tech in these movies. That it's transportative in a great way. The fact that the Goldeneye is like an enormous floppy disk is just hilarious, you know. But yeah, she like is posing as this like big purchaser of IBMs, like for like a school or something, and is just wanting to use a computer to talk to Boris, because like obviously computers are just not around enough for her to find one to talk to Boris on. Like that's such a hilarious problem to have in a film, you know. Like it's so good. Anyway, Boris sets up a meeting. Like we see that he's alive and is just sort of doing his weird thing, and sets up a meeting at a church, and we'll see that soon. We go on a great gig, and Bond is off to meet with Zhukovsky, and says that he's going to like appeal to this guy's wallet rather than his like sense of fairness and forgiveness, which is a good strat. Natalia does meet with Boris, but it's a twist. He's a baddie. He was the inside man at the station. He's the bad hacker boy. Because Xenia is also here and captures Natalia, presumably. Yeah, so we go into Zhukovsky's joint, and here is like this lady singing, which turns out to be his mistress, Irina. And she's singing a version of Stand By Your Man, which is so strange. It's like a karaoke style version of Stand By Your Man, but it's fucking odd. I'm very
we can't hear it, but the subtitles say ooh ah at the same time as Pink Floyd singing ooh ah.
Well, that's good.
And it's also like there's supposed to be this weird bad vocal performance underneath the album's like definitive best vocal performance, so that's pretty cool as
pretty
well.
Great for great gig over this, absolutely. Just like a single female vocal over this is just very funny.
We're hearing what she hears in her head. Very rude of Pierce Brosnan to diss a singer as well.
Yeah, fucking A, man. Watch yourself.
We
know your truth, your dark truth, Pierce. You don't have the golden
You're
pipes.
13 years off, Mamma Mia.
Bud. Mate. It's all hubris for Goldeneye. He shouldn't have sassed this girl. Mate.
Yeah, she put the curse on him. Send him to the Aberverse.
Send him to the Aberverse. Pierce in the Aberverse. Oh, God.
Oh, it's my favourite children's book.
Oh, it's so long. It's so dense. It's about a very heavy man and how he can't sing in a world of song. Anyway. Oh, God, I'm getting off track. It's because my favourite boy is here, Gareth. Another friend of the show. Krull alumni, Robbie Coltrane. The boy. The hero. Shout outs to the man. So happy to see him.
So happy to see him. Whoa.
Loved him. As like, and he does a pretty great job as like a threatening but humorous Russian mobster type. Like, again, fairly shallow character, but like he is at least fun in the role. He has a lot of good dialogue, I think, at the very least. And yeah, I just like his performance. So, yeah,
I don't know what to say. He seems like he could be the same character from Kroll.
Yeah, definitely. He's just
but just like things have gone a bit
made
wild.
something of himself after dying in the Black Fortress. He's just somehow come back in modern day Russia and just become a mobster. You know, still has that like stick that he was carrying in a cupboard, and he looks at it every now and then and just remembers the good times on planet Kroll. His journey. There's like a Bond gets like captured, has sort of here that like he pulls a gun on Zukovsky and then someone pulls a gun on him because he's in his house. So, you know, that happens. And they like, Zukovsky's like, give me a good reason that I shouldn't kill you. And he says that he didn't kill Zukovsky out of professional courtesy. And then like once he sasses Irina again for the singing, he like shoots at his balls, I guess, and panics Bond to the point he's like, I've got a plan for you. And then we smash cut to them hanging out in Zukovsky's office, like hard cut here with like a very weird plan. I don't understand what's going on here. Bond's like tipping him off to like a bank robbery that's happening or something, and then like he'll be able to make off with the money and like that'll pay back Bond's debt to him. It's some kind of transfer that's happening for the British government, I think. And then like he'll put him in touch with Yanis as repayment. It's so weird. I have no idea like what actually is happening here, but it's irrelevant. Basically, like it doesn't. We don't even see it happen as well. It's never like explained or shown. But Zukovsky's like on board with it. He's like, cool. I get to be rich, and I'll show you to the Yanis person. It's fine. Great, cool. We also find out from him that Yanis is Lien's Cossack, which is, I believe, a real historical thing. I actually haven't researched that.
Oh, no, neither.
But anyway, it's probably is real. But it's a contingent of Russians that during World War II worked with the Nazis directly, and then the British government like gave them asylum. No, they weren't working with the Nazis. Sorry, they were like fleeing the Nazis or something, and then the British government promised them asylum, but then sent them back to Stalin and had them all, and they all got killed, very like mercilessly. It was not a great move by the British government. It was like a very poor, like tactical thing that happened basically to this like group of people that were seeking asylum.
Yeah, so this was the plot point I've never noticed until I watched it with Pink Floyd.
Yeah, it's super like, complicated, like, and introduced by this character who, like, we've just tried to understand what the fuck he's doing as well, and it's like, what? Yeah. What are we talking about why are we talking about World War II right now? Like, yeah, it's really weird. Anyway, he says that Yanis, the person Yanis, is one of these Lien's Cossacks, and would have reason to hate the British government for that reason. Okay? That's all I'm going to really get into it.
Yeah, that's all the movie needs you to get.
While this like heist is presumably going on, Bond goes back to like a hotel that he's going to be staying at and hangs out in this like enormous like octagonal pool, like this like Grecian realm of plenty that he's found himself in. I don't know. And
yeah, it must have so much salt in it because he's not sinking and
he's so dense. It's like, it's just thick with salt, hoisting Pierce's heavy body. Someone comes into the room and he like is floating in the middle, goes to investigate. In the background of this scene, there's like a pool attendant or something, and they're dressed as if they were part of that play that I wouldn't shut up about earlier. They're like a fucking jester hanging out at this pool. I was like, what the fuck? Why is this guy here? I just noticed him in the background. I was like, why is he the only other person in this room with Pierce Brosnan? So bizarre. Anyway,
it's so confusing as well, because it's like, the attack is supposed to be when he thinks he's alone. So why would you include this jester in that?
He's just hanging out there. Fuck. I hope he's real. I really hope I haven't imagined him into the scene. That kind of shit has happened to me before, but I'm certain that I've seen the Jester Man. Please tell me if I've gone mad, commenters.
If we're imagining the Jester Man and the Jester Man begins showing up in more movies, the Pink Floyd curse of the Jester Man.
I don't need it. I don't need that to happen, please. Anyway, he goes to investigate this this mystery person out here, and it's Xenia. He pulls like a pistol out of somewhere, like. Notably, Bond is wearing like swimming trunks and nothing else. He is just like barrel-chested, hairy-chested. He must have been clenching a pistol betwixt his cheeks, Gareth. Like, there's no other explanation. It's so bizarre.
For England,
James. But yeah, it's Xenia, and who tries her like seduction stuff on Bond. Who manages to outmaneuver her. It's like we get this like more of this like weird sex fight style over the money solo, which is pretty weird.
Because she's just in her robe as well, so like
they're full on like having sex and fighting. I feel like some random runs into the room, possibly the jester, I don't know, and just gets like knocked out by Bond. So. It's just someone coming in to try and help. They heard screaming in the octagonal salt pool room. Anyway, so he manages to like get her off of him and points the gun at her, and she's like, "Fuck, okay, you've got me." And she takes him to Yanis. So they drive out to this like statue construction yard for like old Russian dictators or something, which is a great area to have a showdown with a villain in.
Yes.
But makes no sense as to be a real location. But it's great. It's just like all these old threatening statues in like scaffolding and stuff, looking around on angles and broken up and things. It's really cool. It's really cool looking. Just some sinister villain shit. Xenia gets like taken out with a swift karate chop to the neck, like a sleeper chop or something, and just falls asleep.
The kind of thing in Austin Powers they'd yell judo chop.
Exactly. Yes, it's the full. Like that's probably where they get it from in Austin Powers, right?
Yeah, honestly.
Bond sees that the helicopter is here, so he knows that Yanis is here as well. And we go through sneaking through this statue graveyard, and we finally get the reveal that Yanis is dun dun dun. It's Alec. He was alive.
Yeah.
He faked his death back in 9 years ago. As like the explanation for what's going on with Alec is bizarre. Effectively, he was one of these Lenin's Cossacks, and his parents survived the executions by Stalin, but were driven so mad with guilt that his father killed himself and his mum, like, in front of him. And that, like, severely fucked him up, and he, like, never forgave the British for doing this. Pretty impressive, considering he was, like, a child at the time that this happened, that he would even, like, know and understand that incredibly complicated situation. But sure. Anyway, He swore vengeance against the British government and then like worked his way into working for the British government to like take it down from within effectively. He basically wanted to become a master terrorist and was like biding his time to do this big scheme. And that's where this led to this mission in Russia where the plan went off without a hitch with him trying to fake his own death to like escape, but Bond set the timers on the bombs for 3 minutes instead of 6 like Alec thought, and this facility exploded and badly burned him. And so now Sean Bean has a big old scar on his face. Pretty serious stuff. Looking pretty scary.
It looks awesome actually. Perfect Bond villain. But this is so much more complicated than it should have been. Like, it seems like they're doing all of this to just be like, don't worry, the villain's not British. It's okay. He's not actually British.
Yes. Yeah, don't worry. He's got him like dead to rights basically out here. The Bond is like fully shocked at seeing his old partner again. And just like doesn't know what to do. And he tries to like bring his gun up to shoot Yanis, but he gets shot with like a sleeper dart in the neck, and then wakes up shortly after inside the cockpit of the helicopter with Natalia behind him, like kicking him in the head, trying to get him to wake up. And yeah, like the helicopter, they're strapped into the helicopter. It's going to shoot its missiles up into the air to blow themselves up. And like it's a smart like Bond villain thing to do, like 2 loose ends being destroyed at the same time, or 3 really if you count like it's Natalia, the helicopter, and James Bond. Like pretty good stuff. Like it was a pretty smart way of dealing with them all.
Yeah, except they just left. They didn't stay to watch it work.
They all fucked off. Yeah, it's like surely you'd watch from a safe distance, or at the very least, but whatever. Bond like desperately tries to free his hand to escape, but can't. And conveniently, right next to his head is the eject button. And so we just see him bash his head against this button over and over again to try and launch the like escape parachute, the like ejector seat. Hilarious watching Pierce Brosnan bash his face against a button. Love that. Just looks terrified. They managed to escape, and we're in us and them for this. And so, like, midway through. And when the helicopter cockpit, like, launches up into the air, Pink Floyd sing Up. And then when it starts coasting down on the parachutes, they sing And Down for Up and Down in the middle of us and them. So good. Couldn't believe it. I was like, what? That's really good. Love it.
And in the end, it's only round and round, which is what a helicopter does as well.
Yeah. Oh, it would be doing if it weren't exploded. So they try and like wrestle with each other. Natalia tries to run away because she doesn't know who the fuck this guy is, and then they are set upon by the Russian government, who have heard an explosion and have come to investigate. And so they're carted off to this like castle or something, some kind of facility. I think it's like a government facility, actually. It's just like an old ass brick building though. It looks like they're coming through like a drawbridge though. At night time anyway, for an interrogation. We get a little bit of info from Natalia about what's going on with her. Like she just tells Bond some of the information. She says that Boris was one of the ones that betrayed her. He was the insider in their friendship anyway. He's the betrayer in her mind. And she like obviously doesn't trust Bond, which is really good. I wish this like distrust stayed for the whole movie, but again, it doesn't. Because she's like, you're fucking dangerous. Ever since I've met you, I've like been blown up. Like it's awful. And also she says like, they're gonna kill me, aren't they? And Bond says, he doesn't say either way. He just says, trust me. And he repeats this later. And it's like, that's not helpful. That's not... What? That's not the correct answer to that question. Anyway, it sucked.
Yeah.
So Dimitri, the big wig guy, comes in and does an interrogation of Bond, but which mostly consists of these two dudes just yelling at each other that the other one doesn't know anything that's going on. Just a lot of parading around, and Natalia doesn't stand for it. She stops them and says, "Boys with toys." Her delivery of "boys with toys" is really good. And she reveals that it's Oromov was behind the theft of the Goldeneye, which is news to Dimitri. He's like, "What the fuck?" And we go into Any Color You Like, and he's like, "But why would he steal the Goldeneye?" And she's like, there's a second satellite, a second Goldeneye. You know how eyes, there's commonly two of them? Yeah, two Goldeneyes.
Yeah.
Should have been called Golden Eyes, this movie.
It should have.
Anyway, Oromov bursts into this interrogation scene being like, apologies, Dimitri, this should be my interrogation. I can take over. And Dimitri's like, well, from what I've been hearing, you're probably not the man for the job, Oromov. And Oromov is like, oh shit, and turns on his own government, plays turncoat immediately and shoots the guard and Dimitri. Basically, he's just flying by the seat of his pants for the next couple of scenes, and it's fucking cool to watch. His acting in this sequence is great because you see him just sort of putting the plan together as he's going, and it's really fun. He's really panicked. It's very well acted. And Bond is takes off with Natalia. They escape Oromov, who's just trying to kill them and blame them for Dimitri's murder now. And they are running through this Russian government facility, and there's all these old archives here, which is such a good, again, a very 90s thing. These massive books and paper everywhere. It's great. And they're running on these catwalks being shot at from below. And Oromov and the guards are hunting them. It's really fun. But they've got stormtrooper aim is what I've written here in my notes. And they're just firing their guns and doing nothing. And Bond's gun always finds its target no matter what. He's just randomly spraying and just killing people easily. And we see from above that in the courtyard below that there's some tanks out here, some Russian military tanks. Bond uses his repelling thing, his belt buckle repel launcher piton thing to escape. But unfortunately, Natalia falls down a hole and
of course,
and is captured. So because she doesn't have a cool belt, so she she gets caught and is ushered off into a car by Oromov, who we see Bond's now outside and watching this take place as guards are rushing in to take him out. Of course, Oromov is able to get past all these guys because he's a government official, and so he's just going. He's trying to escape the scene. Bond's fuck, how am I going to get him? And so we see from inside the car, we see Oromov and Natalia getting driven away by people here. And Oromov drinking from a little flask to calm his nerves. Like that detail a lot as well. When suddenly the fucking tank busts through the wall. He's hot-wired a tank, Gareth. He stole a tank. It's a T-55 tank. Funny. In case I did research on this car. In case you wanted it. Classic of the tank genre.
Of course, yeah.
And it's hilarious.
Everyone's got this tank in their garage.
Yeah, he's driving the tank with his little head sticking out of the cockpit, the little porthole thing on the top. hysterical.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's not how you drive it, but I don't know.
No. And his beautiful hair is staying pretty much in place, and you just remember at this point that he was in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Oh my god. Just like a British
so
man
good.
in a full suit driving a tank on the street. It's so funny. Fucking wild. And yeah, just like roaming around the main streets and like plowing through these buildings. It is like, tanks are fucking scary. Like seeing one in action, holy shit. Like there's a lot of sequences here where this car is like going down like narrow alleyways and the tank just drives through the buildings. It's like fucking horrifying. But yeah, it's like, yeah, they're like, it's this sequence has got to be the highlight of the film though. Like it's so out there. It's so crazy.
Yeah. It's like, it's the easiest way, like, I mean, these films can start to merge together because they've got such strict rules. But it's the easiest way to remember this. It's just like Pierce's face sticking out of a little bit in a tank.
Yeah.
Like if you bought the action figure of this tank, it would have just a little Robert Pierce face and no body. Just connected, like hot glued right onto the tank.
Unbelievable. It's so funny.
What was that?
Oh, so I think my brother has arrived home. That's okay.
Hello.
So Bond is just like roaming around, like driving this tank through the streets. I'm really not sure what the plan is. Like, I get that he had to steal a tank, but like, and he's chasing these guys. But like, what's the rest of the plan? Like, once you catch them, it's like a dog chasing like a milk truck. Like what are you gonna do once you get to them? Like, are you gonna like mow them down? Like there's not a lot of options in a tank. They're built for basically one purpose. It's pretty wild. But yeah, he's like, that's just a sequence of him like driving through things. He drives through like a piece of product placement, an entire Perrier water truck, and just gets covered in cans, which is very, very funny. And then he plows straight through the base of like a statue of like a Valkyrie, like a person, like angelic figure riding a horse. And this is just now sitting on top of the tank as he's driving around the city, which is hilarious. Like, storyboarding this sequence would have been so fun. But yeah, eventually this thing gets knocked off and crushes two cop cars. This like statue, it's bizarre. And then that's the end of that sequence. We do finish up right on the end of playthrough 2 here. This sequence, which is good. And yeah, we're having the heartbeats for a bit of stealth as the bad guys pull up on this train, like a Soviet missile train or something. I don't know. It's bizarre. Bad guy lair on a train. Pretty cool. And yeah, hilariously, Bond pulls up stealthily in his tank, which is just hilarious. Like, how did he evade anyone following him? He's in a tank. I don't know. They're so fucking loud.
So like, coming out of this little tunnel and the tank comes out and then Bond's face comes out. Like, who else is it going to be?
Like a little groundhog coming out of the hole. Oh, it's so good. Like the fact that there's a stealth sequence with a tank is just very funny to me. But yes, anyway,
and it's perfect to the screams of
Speak to Me
the album as well. Just,
coming in. Yeah. Anyway, so there's this missile train, which is, I guess, the like portable base of operations for Yanis. The thing about a train, though, is that it's on a track, so not great for escaping, but whatever. Alec is here doing like typical Bond villain stuff, being all creepy with Natalia. and like trying to like make out with her for no apparent reason. He's saying like Bond and I shared everything, and it's like, ugh. Like, I guess they had to make him unlikable more than being like a terrorist, but gross. Okay.
Yeah, it's also probably by making him a super creep.
Yeah,
you can kind of forgive James Bond's little creepiness.
Yeah, I guess so. Like. Yeah, they're basically the same level though. Like Bond like forces a kiss on someone in this movie as well, and it's like that's not good, and it's exactly the same as what Alec's doing. So I don't know. They share even their bad habits, I guess. But yeah. So this like creep fest is interrupted, thankfully, by somehow. The implication here is that Bond's tank is faster than a moving train, which is fucking insane. Because he appears in front of the train, like blocking the path to a tunnel. Don't know how that's possible, but whatever. Pointing the barrel.
He was leaning forward. He's so dense.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, that's right. He used his inertia to push the tank.
Yeah.
He pushed it faster than it could drive. But yes, so they decide that it would be a good idea to ram a tank with the train, which, not the strongest move from the villains here, but that's fine. There's a very weird sequence, though, where like Bond is sitting in the tank, fires a shot at the train, hits it, the train keeps going, he jumps out of the tank, and then is suddenly in the ditch, like, watching the train go past. Like, his jump, like, transported him probably 25 meters. I've no idea how he did that. He's suddenly somewhere completely different at a safe distance away from this tank, which gets hit by the train and obviously buckles the train and sends it off its rails. Because it hit a tank. Of course it did. Like... Fucking hell, it's not a bullet train, it's just a train. Anyway.
Yeah. I love Alec going, he's going to derail us, as if he's talking about me on this podcast.
Yeah. I love that, though. It's so good. Your derailments are always welcome, mate. I will drive my train into your tank every day.
Oh, now that's friendship.
That's friendship, baby. So yeah, Bond gets aboard the wreckage of the train and basically should have them covered here. He's armed, they're not. And Alec's like, why can't you just be a good boy and die? Which is a very silly line. But like, he stands up and says, your fatal weakness, because Natalia has been captured by, is still with Urumov, who is holding a gun to her. And so now Alex says that he's only got time to shoot one of them and like let the other escape, basically. So he can choose to let Alec escape and save Natalia, or let Natalia die and kill Alec. And he has to choose in the moment because there's only enough time to shoot one of them. And Alec's on foot, I'll remind you. But sure. Anyway, he chooses to save Natalia because of course he does, and shoots Urumov, so he's dead. Get out of here, mate. You had a great performance up until now. Loved you. But you're gone. Alec manages to escape just by like moving quickly and hitting a button, which traps them in this wreckage, like already wrecked train compartment. So I don't know. And we go into On the Run as they have to escape the train compartment. With Natalia doing like a hacking job, trying to figure out where Boris is, to find out where they're going. And so she's like doing a hacking thing where Bond is trying to like cut his way out with his watch that can shoot a wee laser. That wasn't introduced, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that he can do. There was no scene in Q's workshop about his laser watch, but that seems pretty useful. Anyway, they cut their way out and escape, and they figure out that Boris is in Havana in Cuba, and so that's where they're headed next. And yeah, they do a like dramatic jump away from the train before it explodes into the undergrowth. And there is a bit actually before this where Alec like calls them via like intercom or something and says that I'll set the timers for 6 minutes, James, the same 6 minutes you gave me. So yeah. I like that line, but it's very funny.
Yeah, and Bond's just immediately like, we've got 3 minutes.
And Natalia's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. And so also, fuck, there's so much going on here. The little there was introduced earlier when Boris was being a wee creepo with Natalia when we first introduced them. He hacked her PC and set her password to be something like rude, like her like breasts or something was the password to open her computer. Knockers, that's it. Yeah. And so there was a riddle for his password that she has to get, and he said that the password was something you can sit on but you can't take it with you. And so there was like, she was trying to like butt, rump, all these different like versions for your posterior, Gareth, and she poses it to Bond as he's trying to cut his way free, and he shouts out the answer, which is chair. Really? Like, is that like, that's such an old school joke if it's meant to be a joke. Like, who calls their butt their chair? Also, a chair is something you can take with you, like camping chairs, guys. It doesn't work.
How do they think chairs get anywhere?
It doesn't work as a riddle or a rude thing. Like, it's just sucked, and I was angry at Boris now more than ever. So for his bad password that would get me killed.
And this has been another edition of Rate My Riddle.
Yeah. Rate My Riddle. What a great show. Oh my god. I want to bring that back in a big way. Yes, so we get the clocks going off in time coming in for time at the end of On the Run. We had like On the Run for that escaping sequence was pretty nice. And then there's suddenly the danger of this all has gotten to Natalia and she falls for Bond, which again I don't buy at all, but sure. No. He also says that he's like paying lip service, which is gross. I don't know. Anyway, we go from here. I think they had to fall in love so that we could have the like beach scene in Havana later on.
Yeah. It's very 90s, like they are male and female, so thus they will be in love by the end of the film.
Yeah.
Like, no. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't buy this one at all.
No. So they're driving their BMW in Havana and having a grand old time. Yeah, Natalia's loving it. Jack Wade comes in and nearly lands a plane on top of them. And they have to like switch vehicles because they're going to be looking for this big old dish that's big enough to control the Goldeneye, send a satellite transmission. Jack Wade is great. He says that he will be calling in the cavalry if Bond needs help. We'll be sending for the Marines, basically. And also, we get a New Zealand shout-out briefly here. Apparently, there's secret satellite transmitters that belong to the CIA in New Zealand, which is cool to know. Thanks, James Bond. So, they're all like just like...
I'm keeping an eye out.
They're all just big like skate parks in New Zealand. Big dishes, big half pipes that we're going around. Yeah. They're actually CIA mission like dishes. Anyway.
Every time you see a dome-shaped house, it's just one of those dishes, but we've flipped it upside down and we're living in it to solve our housing crisis.
Yeah. Oh yes, we all live in the dome. We're dome people in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dome gnomes. That's us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to anyone who lives in a dome.
Yeah, please.
Like my parents did for 6 months.
So good.
True fact.
True facts. The dome dwellers.
Yeah. Yeah. Dome gnomes.
Dome gnomes.
I'm the son of a dome gnome.
I'm so proud of you.
Anyway, for the people who don't know me personally, my parents lived in a dome-shaped house while they waited for their house to be built.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I've talked about this dome thing with you before. I feel like it would be very difficult to own pictures in a dome house.
Yeah.
I would find that immensely frustrating. You just have to really love domes, I think, is the only way you could survive.
Yeah, your interior walls you can hang a picture on. But
Oh,
yeah,
really?
other
Okay.
than that. And it kind of... The room feels both wider and narrower because you kind of...
Oh.
It is wide, but then it's, of course, slanting inwards the whole way.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, that's the dome review.
Dome review after the riddle review. Okay. So, the plane, they don't take off in the plane immediately because Bond has to have a pensive moment on a beach about, like, killing his friend. He's got to be like, he hasn't seen him in 10 years and this guy's a terrorist, but he's still feeling all cut up about it. And so Natalia comes over and is, like, trying to comfort him in a big flowy skirt. And it's really silly, but she's got to do the, like, Bond girl thing. She asks him, like, how he can be so cold about all this, and he's like, I'm a spy. Like, that's who I am. I'm 007, baby. That's what he should say. But yeah, they have an angry kiss and followed by an impassioned kiss that transitions to, like, a fireplace as we get the, like, nice tempo change in time, which is a nice sync. I quite like that. Scene transition syncs. A lot of them happening in this film, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Also, like, right after that transition, the tempo change, rather, they saying it's good to warm my bones beside the fire as well, which is basically what's happening in this scene. As there's, like, a sensitive moment in the bed together with these guys. It's a decent sync anyway.
Yeah, they've just kind of... I'm sorry about this, but they've boned beside the fire.
It's true.
So
they've warmed their bones. Yeah.
God.
You said it,
I'm gonna
man.
go warm my bones. Yeah,
You did
I regret
this.
it. Said it and regret it. The Gareth Buckler story.
Oh. Anyway, let's free ourselves from that and go into a great gig as they're looking for that big old dish, the skate park dome, but they can't find it in the forests of Cuba. They're just flying around. They fly over a suspicious-looking lake and decide to make another pass over it when they are suddenly shot by a missile coming out of the lake, which is even more suspicious, really. So their plane gets shot down, and both the wings get torn off by, like, trees that they fly past, which is pretty dramatic. They both pass out together on miraculously surviving, and they pass out on the ground next to the plane. Still in great gig, the helicopter comes down to rescue them. But no, it's actually Xenia delivering a swift kick to Bond's head. And they do more weird, her battle style again, her leg crushing maneuvers against Bond. And it looks like it's going to work because he's, like, weakened, obviously. But Natalia comes in the clutch, comes in for the distraction, like, tries to hit Xenia with, like, a log, which is very good.
Yeah.
But Bond uses this distraction to, like, tie her on to, like, her little carabiner to her belt, and then shoots the helicopter so that it falls and flies away. And she's tied onto it, and so gets hoisted up and pulled against, like, the fork of a tree and is crushed to death. presumably experiencing some sexual pleasure on the way. Bond, it's a pretty horrible way to die, but Bond still comes in with the quip and says that she always did love a good squeeze. Which, I guess is a joke.
It's not one of his best ones. Like I said, you can understand a Pierce quip. This... I mean, with Q and stuff, he's just like, oh, I can't help but say my puns. But this just feels like craven. This is just like, she has died, I must say joke.
I've got to say a joke, otherwise the tension will be too big. After seeing this woman horribly, pulled against a tree until she died. It's like a fucking, Game of Thrones death or something. Just someone being brutalized in that way. It's horrible. Not with a helicopter, obviously, but you know what I mean. So we cut directly from this to the baddie base, which is like a subterranean area full of computers and glass, and it's hilarious. This is, I'm pretty sure, what that one episode of The Simpsons was parodying with the guy, the millionaire guy who Homer briefly works for. It's got to be
you only move twice.
That's
one
it.
of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. It's got to be the Goldeneye reference here.
Surely. That's also got Good Thighs in it. That's how I knew that was a character from a different James Bond movie.
There you go. But yeah, they're preparing to use the Goldeneye, and they're going to use it to shoot London. And before they do, they're going to hack in and steal all the money from the Federal Reserves. And yeah, this is where he describes the Goldeneye as the world's greatest cash card, which is hilarious. The plan itself doesn't make any sense, and that they're going to Alex says later on, he elaborates on the plan, saying that blowing up the using the EMP on London will reset everything. It's like the Fight Club thing of destroying the credit history and all the records of everything, criminal records, everything is going to be wiped. And so, the thing about money is that it only works if it has buying power. So sort of resetting things to zero means that stealing all the money doesn't really make any sense. But sure.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
But yeah, whatever, that's fine. I guess if you transfer it to a different currency where you haven't blown up that part of the world, it's probably okay. But I don't know. If you turned it all into American dollars, I don't know.
Yeah, but you'd have to do that quick.
You would.
I don't understand much about the exchange market.
Yeah, that'd be traceable. Absolutely. Anyway, it's not a good plan, but that's fine.
No.
Yeah. So yes, they so they run up to this this lake, which is being drained. It's all the water is being drained out of the lake, and the lake itself is the dish, which is pretty cool, I thought.
Yes.
The walls of this
massive dish arriving from the lake, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is the only Pink Floyd connection to James Bond ever.
Please hit me with it.
So, a man named Derek Meddings did the pyrotechnics for Pink Floyd in the 70s. The reason they hired him is because he does miniatures and explosions for James Bond movies, starting in the Roger Moore era and ending, this is his final film, he built the satellite for Goldeneye.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah,
there
so
you
Pink
go.
Floyd's pyrotechnics guy.
That's sweet. I love that. What a great legacy. And also,
that was
the Goldeneye shooting out its little laser, very Dark Side of the Moon. Pretty happy with that.
Hey, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
A complicated thing involving money, just like Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, that's a great descriptor. I love that. Yeah, so...
and that was buried. That is original research, essentially. You search Pink Floyd...
very proud of you.
James Bond. You're probably going to get this podcast. But then, like, there's a lot of talk about whether one of their songs rips off the James Bond theme, which also led to a violent Wikipedia argument, which makes me worried about the internet in general. And then deep in, like, a Google book, you find out that Derek Meddings...
Oh, my God.
That did James Bond and Pink Floyd.
You went deep into the archives. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
That rules. Oh, my God. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So all the water's draining out of this dish in a clearly reversed shot, which is very funny. They probably just like spent fucking ages just filling this dish up, which is a good way to do the special effect, but it is pretty obvious. Anyway, they head around the edge of the like drained dish and try and spot that in the center there's like a dissension, like an area to go down, and the guards spot them and have reported this to Alec, who they're like just find and kill them, and so they target London and then continue on. And so the goodies are ambushed by the guards, and they've got to like slide down the side of this dish. A lot of shaky cam for the dish sliding. Obviously looked like shit, and so they just shook the hell out of the camera, but that's fine.
Smart.
And but they managed to survive by like just stopping right just before the edge and catching Natalia, and then the baddies activate the Goldeneye and send it towards London, so there's a limited time to resolve this and the show. So Bond and Natalia like sneak into the facility, and then ignoring the sneaking that they just did, Bond just starts gunning people down with his pistol. And Natalia goes in to like hack the computers and like override Boris's system so that he can't adjust what she's about to do. Bond sets up these little like mime things that can be activated from his watch. I think they're the same little ones from the intro, except that they don't have timers on them this time. They're like remote activated instead. And he gets unfortunately captured and sent over to Alec, in spite of the orders to just kill him. But whatever, like the guards have all been ordered to shoot on sight, basically. But that's fine. So they bring him to Alec, and we see that the tanks are like leaking gasoline everywhere or whatever. So things are going to go bad soon. Alec does his typical Bond villain gloating and uses Bond's watch to disarm the little remote bombs, which I really liked. I really liked that because he's an ex-agent. He knows all of the like Q tricks that that Bond has. I think that's a really good detail, except that immediately they undo this with the very next thing that happens. Look, I guess this is a new development from Q. The pen bomb is also amongst Bond's possessions, which is sitting on the counter next to Boris. We go into Us and Them, and we hear the baddies' plan about stealing all the money, and it's not very good. And James like condemns them as basically simply being bank robbers when it comes down to it. They're going to cause all this like horrible devastation and kill a bunch of people just to steal money. That's pretty lame, and fair enough. This facility probably costs like a shitload of money, so whatever. And Natalia manages to encrypt the computer with her little hacker magic or whatever. It's very funny that when she gets captured, she like dodges out of the arms of one of the guards and presses enter like for like a final execution of the code or whatever. It's very silly. They were just told to kill these guys, but sure. So Natalia is brought in before them as well, and she like slaps the shit out of Boris, which is very funny. And Boris starts stressing out because he's been thrown to the ground and accidentally picks up the bomb pen, When he stresses, he is constantly clicking his pen and has been doing so for the entire movie, which is a very good detail. And now he's clicking this pen that if he clicks it 3 times and then waits 4 seconds, it'll explode. So that's great. Very good scene. We get a lot of like James Bond eye acting when he's just watching this pen and waiting for it to explode. It's really funny. And Boris tries to like undo what Natalia's done because she's sent the Goldeneye probe to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. She's like activated the retros on it to like burn up and be destroyed. And kind of a hard thing to reverse. Boris has like got his work cut out for him. Like maneuvering in space is pretty tough. And once you've sort of set the thrusters to push something into Earth's atmosphere, it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah.
You got questions about gravity. Pierce Brosnan's your guy.
It's actually being drawn towards Pierce.
Yeah, it's actually
just slightly heavier.
Slightly, yeah. They're actually orbiting each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's very good though because Boris, in a reverse to earlier, Boris is having to like hack into Natalia's code and guess her password. Like he's been messing with her throughout the film, and now the tables have turned, which is nice. So, and also in another reversal, Bond gets held at gunpoint, and she says, "Kill him, I don't care." Whereas, like he did the same thing earlier. He was like, did the gambit where it was like, "Oh, shoot her! She means nothing to me." And now she's in the same position, which is very good. Finally, Boris clicks the pen enough times and then just starts screaming at Natalia because he can't hack her code. Get dunked. You failed. That's the real loss here, not the pen blowing up, which is actually what happens now. The whole facility explodes in varying degrees, and Bond and Natalia manage to like use this distraction to escape into an elevator. Not clear how, but sure. Boris looks shocked as hell, which is my favorite part about this. He's just like freaking out that like all this explosions are happening. He's like, what the fuck? So good. So Bond and Talia ride the elevator up. They trick a guard doing the classic like dead person in the elevator trick. Like
classic.
Yeah, classic trick, you know. You seen Saw
We've
1?
all done it.
Anyway. They give and then Bond gives Natalia a pistol which she can inexplicably use. I don't know what that's about. She's a computer programmer, but sure. Bond runs up to the like transmitter to try and like manually disable it so that Boris can't like hack into the system and save the like continue the operation with the Goldeneye. So he's going to go up to the actual like top of the dish, like the little suspended thing, and get up there and disable it. Which is it's a weird place for a final confrontation. Notably, the worst level in the video game GoldenEye is this, like on top of this dish. It's fucking annoying to navigate up here. Yeah. You're on the N64 controller, and it's just like you're on all these catwalks, and it's just like all dull white metal, and that's it. Like it sucks. In the mission, you just have to kill Alec. And if you have the right weapon, you can just shoot him and the mission ends. It's very funny. Wow. Anyway. So hilariously, Alec like chases after Bond. He like goes up there and like follows him in a funicular, which I've already said in our Dune 1984 episode is like one of the funniest methods for a villain to take transportation. What is going on with like villains and gondolas? I don't know what's happening. It's very funny. Just like he's got like a gun, but just like it's just very very angrily waving his gun around inside this very slow moving cable car. I love it. Yeah, so they have the like final confrontation up here on the transmitter. And yeah, it's just sort of a gunfight up here, followed by fisticuffs inside the facility. Bond like jams the gear mechanism for maneuvering the transmitter, like rotating it around with a piece of metal that he finds, like jamming it through the chain, which is good. Like, I think this is like, it's him as a blunt instrument standing in the way of like the technology. Like, this is very much his style, like stopping things in a mechanical way rather than like a technical way, which is cool. And they do like a fight over a gun here. Like, Bond's pistol is the only gun in the room, and they fight over it. And eventually Alec gets the gun and points it at Bond, and does a bit more gloating, and then Bond like activates like a descending ladder, which he slides all the way down to the bottom on, which looks like it hurts like hell. Alec climbs down the ladder. The gun's inexplicably out of bullets when he tries to shoot it. Like, he's fired one shot, and he's like, there's this great face that Sean Bean gives when he's like, for fuck's sake, I'm out of bullets. It's so good. And then, he goes down the ladder and tries to, like, kick Bond's hand like Mufasa in, like, Lion King. Like, kick him free here. And, hilariously, also, while this is happening, Boris is trying to like hack into Natalia's code and stop the thing from happening, and he does yell out, "Speak to me!" But we're in Any Color You Like, Boris. You're not right there. I'm sorry. You're close.
Way off.
Yeah. Both instrumental tracks, so I could see how you'd be confused, Boris, but no. Yes. Boris. So a helicopter closes in on the boys, but who are fighting at the bottom of this like this transmitter thing. They're like hanging above like a 50-foot drop, probably more, 100-foot. And yeah, they're both just up here, and a helicopter is nearby. And we think it's a baddie, but no, it's Natalia who's holding a gun to the pilot's head. Don't know how this would work either. Like, if you're hijacking a helicopter isn't a great plan, because if you can't pilot the helicopter, the pilot sort of has right of way. Like, you're putting yourself as dead in that situation no matter what happens. Like, you know? Yeah, not a great plan, but that's okay. Whatever. Alec gets distracted by this confusing situation with the helicopter, just like I did, and gets distracted.
He's all ready to point out the plot hole.
Yeah, and Bond, manages to like get him off the thing, and is holding onto his foot. Alec is like dangling, and he asks him. Sean Bean's like final lines here. He says, "For England, James?" And then James is like, "No, for me." And he lets him drop. And I was like, holy shit, that's really dark. He lets this guy's obviously a baddie, right? But like, he kills him. This is a murder. Full on. He just drops him 100 feet, breaking every bone in this guy's body. And then, Boris screams as well, and the satellite explodes up in space as it re-enters the atmosphere. He was unable to break the code in time. Natalia somehow maneuvers this helicopter pilot into letting Bond get on board, and then the transmitter also explodes for no apparent reason, probably because of Bond's crowbar. And then it crashes down on top of Alec, which is insult to injury, really. The man is dead. Boris also stands up, having survived the explosion, and proclaims, "I am invincible," and then gets frozen by liquid nitrogen while he's standing in a heroic pose. And Pink Floyd sing "See You on the Dark Side of the Moon" in Brain Damage. So there you go.
Yeah. The entire like brain damage kicking in as like the goodies win is really nice.
Yeah. We've only got a little bit of movie left. The helicopter obligingly drops these guys off in the middle of a field and then just goes away, even though it's piloted by a bad guy, but sure. And Natalia like embraces Bond and they kiss and they say, "Hey, there's no one around for hundreds of miles. And so we can do whatever we want out here." But Jack Wade is out here miraculously. And he's like, actually, we had you back the whole time. And this area is just full of Marines. It's so funny seeing them all pop up from like hidden in the field, which it's great. They're all covered in like dry grass. It's very funny.
Yeah, ghillie suits.
Yeah.
It's it's one of the reoccurring James Bond things that they don't talk about, which is a lot of James Bonds end with him about to have sex and then getting interrupted by an authority figure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Moonraker is the most famous one where he's in space.
So
and I think they're like calling the Queen.
Oh my god, what a mood killer. That's so funny.
I know.
Oh my god. They're like, there's a very bizarre Guantanamo Bay reference right before the end here, which like I'm just gonna let fly over me. And then they head off together. Bond picks Natalia up in his arms, and then they take off in the helicopters for the credits. And we get Eclipse right as they fly away. Eclipse ends right on the credits rolling in, which is perfect. I was like, what? There you go. 3 clean plays of the album for good old Goldeneye. What did you think? How did it sync?
Oh, well, it's like when you put a dense man into some water. It's gonna sink.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there were a lot. I was very happy with a lot of these syncs. I don't think it was perfect. Like, there's big stretches in between them. But yeah, I'm happy with it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I thought it was excellent. Like, I would say probably like I'm feeling like 7-8 territory. Pretty great. Like a lot of like things lining up. I was surprised. You know, like there was a lot of like transitions between songs lining up, which is unusual. Like usually that's the kind of thing that doesn't happen at all, and it's just like parts of songs that we're syncing, you know, like the major beats of songs that are lining up. But no, it's like when one song ends, the scene ends, and it's like, oh, cool, that's great when that happens, you know. So it's not like the best in the world, but I would say it's pretty top tier. So yeah.
Well, should we give it a 007?
Yeah, gotta do it.
Out of 10.
Gotta do it. That sounds great.
Brilliant.
Nice. Okay. What's happening next week?
Wow. Next week, I legit, as I'm starting this sentence, I'm not sure. I've got 3 movies wrestling in my head.
Oh. I hope they're all wrestling movies. I'm only joking.
Oh, don't tempt me. But, we've, had to kind of delay this recording as some big life news has taken place for my dear friend James,
Yes.
I hope you don't mind if I blow up your spot, but you've bought a house.
I have indeed.
And dear, I say it, you've bought the house.
Oh.
So let's watch a movie that came out this year. It's only just come out. I hope your house is nothing like this house. When we watch 2022 creepy stop motion film, The House.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Exciting. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It's on Netflix, listeners. It's like 3-film anthology about a spooky house. It's great.
Okay.
But will it sync with Pink Floyd?
We'll find out next week. Sync Floyd on all the socials, Twitter. Just Twitter, actually. No, we deleted everything else. No.
Oh, that's news to me.
No. We're on
The Goldeneye wiped
the
them all.
wipes and the EMP blast. No, get at us on all the good stuff. You know where we are: Spotify, LinkedIn.
Okay. You can run that, because I'm so sick of LinkedIn.
Oh, God. Who isn't? All right.
Oh my gosh. I do want to ask very quickly.
Sure.
Like a James Bond movie, we've got to go a little long. When I ask you, who do you want to play the next James Bond now that Daniel Craig stepped down?
My immediate reaction was to say Twister again, but that's not right. Man, who should play the next James Bond? That's a really great question. Everyone's saying like Idris Elba, but I think he's probably too old. He had the same issue with that like Daniel Craig had, and that he's like, I'm too old in the second film, and it's like, you know. It's tough because they've got to be like someone that's distinctly British and someone that like is action-y. Man, fuck, that's really difficult.
Yeah,
I want to say, I really want Sean Bean to play him. Actually, no.
Oh.
No. Actually, Kit Harington from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I feel like he would be a decent Bond.
Sweet. I like that. I haven't heard him mentioned in
I don't think he is, but
James
he's like a bit sulky, obviously. But like, I think he's got the bod for it. The ladies love him, and like, I think he could like be a charmer if given the chance, you know. So I just want to give the boy a chance.
Yeah, I like the idea of a sulky James Bond as well. Like, he throws a sook when M tells him off. Why not? I want to see, like, Daniel Craig was the deconstruction of the Sean Connery era. I want to see someone deconstruct the Roger Moore era. Like, explain where he's getting these puns, how he's getting these quips, like, what's going on with his fashion, all this stuff. I want to see a James Bond who he, like, doesn't seduce the lady, and he's then up all night, like, going over what he did wrong, and he's, like, constantly on his phone looking up like where to buy nice suits. And he like goes to his improv class to learn his quips. Like, he can't save the world. He's got improv 201 that night, and he ruins every scene by them all just being puns and him pulling a gun on another character.
Yeah.
And I want to see this guy played by another British actor who famously was in a movie where he played a character who thought he was a like legendary British character but couldn't quite measure up. And I want the next James Bond to be Dev Patel.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, that's a fantastic pick, actually. Yeah, I love that.
That's been my last 3 weeks is thinking about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's right on the money. Holy shit. God damn. Love it. All right.
Oh, well.
No.
And speaking of loving it, I love you, man.
Oh, love you too, bro. And I love you, listener, as well. Thank you for listening to this epic length Sync Floyd. Catch us next week.
Whoops. And until next time, gotta get the Goldeneye bass on the gotchi, and we'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
On the dark side of the moon. Bye.
Sync Floyd will return. That's how they end James Bond movies.